Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's some stars and some stands there should be fine. When we get to that, I.
Okay. Good to go.
We're good to go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, October 16th, 2023 City Kingston Planning Board meeting. We are live streaming now. I'll begin with introductions. My name is Wayne Platt Jr. I also have Charles Polacco, Matt Gillis, Vince Archer, Sage Newkirk, and Andrew Harris. And we also have the planning director, Suzanne Cahill. Kyla Dede is the assistant planner, and we have Matthew Jankowski, assistant corporation counsel. A few housekeeping notes first. I ask everybody to silence their cell phones at this time. Bathrooms are out through the council chambers, to the left, to the other side of the council chambers. And if we have to exit in case of emergency, we're just going to get down the stairs and not use the elevator. Item number 1 on the agenda is the adoption of the September 18th, 2023 Planning Board meeting minutes and transcripts. Everybody's had an opportunity to peruse them. Any questions, additions, or deletions recommended? All right, this time I'll make a motion that we adopt those minutes and transcripts. Do I have a second? Second by Charles Polacco. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. So Sage, you're in right now, okay?
Yep.
Okay. We're in public hearings now. Item number 2 is 356 Broadway. It's a special permit renewal to operate a boarding house. Section block of lot is 56.43-8-61.1. Secret determination, transit zone T5 MS, wartime, TBG Group LLC is the applicant owner. Anybody besides the applicant owner wishing to speak on item number 2? Here? Over here?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to come up here?
Yeah.
Got 2 chairs, sir?
We can do another.
You want to come up to the,
Oh, 240.
Yeah.
Or 240 possible.
I don't usually.
Oh,
oh, they're not here? Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, we'll wait for their arrival, pass to the next item, and then see if they come. Is that good? Apologies. Item number 3, 240 Foxhall Avenue, special permit for an eating/drinking with alcohol service. Section block and lot is 48.82-3-74. Transect zone is T4N-0, Ward 6. Anton Kinlock is the applicant. West Shore Trestle LLC is the owner. Anybody besides the applicant owner wishing to speak on item number 3? Is the applicant here for that? Here. There you go. Come on up there. Now we're ready for you. How you been, all right?
I'm good.
Good seeing you. It's been a while.
All right. What do you guys want me over here?
Do you want to go up there too? Or you want to get another?
You want me?
Yeah, we'll get another chair, a couple chairs.
Sure. Maybe one of these. Are these functioning or no? They
Don't use those.
One more. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, can you state your names for the record, please?
Sure. Anton Kinlaw.
Lisa D.
And Jonathan Rich with that. I'm in the West Shore House.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So this is the former promised land / and former lease?
Release fund, yeah.
Okay. You want to tell us what your plans are?
Yeah, so we're looking to open a small taco style restaurant with a varied cocktail menu, wine list and draft beer list as well, trying to kind of settle into the residential neighborhood and being assets of the local community, being more of a neighborhood establishment and targeting those particular individuals as well as targeting some of the people from the Saukey district and the other areas. So, do you have anything?
So for the restaurant menu, we're doing tapas style, like you said. It's gonna be more Asian influence. A lot of whole food from my background, from my family's background, that we're looking to incorporate and be part of the Kingston community. Anton and I both own a business too in New Paltz, so we are familiar with running a restaurant and bar. We're excited to be part of the Kingston community, open our new concept in Kingston.
And you're planning on continuing the outside dining as well? Inside?
Yes, so our plan is to utilize the side alleyway, it's what it's considered part of the outdoor dining. We won't be doing the outdoor dining in the parking lot like it was before.
It's basically, I would just say, that's the side, along the side of the building that's been there, I think, through all the
Oh, yeah.
renovations. Yeah. Just not the part that we added during COVID.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Okay,
So-
that's a gravel area there, is it? Is it
There
gravel?
used to be gravel there and that actually got removed as back down to parking lot now. And this diagram right here is actually the same diagram we submitted to the SLA with all the measurements and all the table placement, which pretty much looks exactly as it is now.
This area here along the side is the one
That's always been there, not every one that's had that building.
back in the lot.
There's a small parking lot back here. During COVID, we added gravel area with more outdoor seating. during
Okay.
COVID. But they're not using that, removed that to the back part.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So you've done a lot of work on the interior. Are you planning, and other than the facade improvements and the facelift to the front, are you doing anything with the parking lot or anything in the back area?
No,
Just to
no.
bring it up?
No, we're just keeping that as is for now, just because financially it's not feasible.
Yeah.
We want to get through our first year and kind of see how
Okay.
things go, and then afterwards, we're gonna get with Jonathan and his wife, and we're gonna discuss that further, and if we do decide to do something like that, then we'll inform the planning board about what we intend to do, whether it be marking the parking lot or paving or whatever, but we'll keep you guys appraised of that first.
Okay.
And your hours of operation are gonna be?
So Tuesdays, we're gonna be closed, it's gonna be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Weekdays, it's gonna be till 10, Friday and Saturday till 11, and then Sunday, we close at 9.
Okay. And I see you have a total of 10 employees.
Right, yep.
This is basically ready to go, right? It's
Effectively.
key the door, you're there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, between the plumbers, the electricians, all the other contractors, we've been busy, and I've been there for pretty much 70 hours a week since late August. So I'm a little tired. I'm kind of ready to just get the sign up and be open for business, hopefully sooner rather than later. So as you guys can see, we kept the original bar stools. We did install wallpaper, but other than that, not much has really changed.
Yep, we didn't change anything structurally inside. Kept the floor plan as it was when we
Sure.
had it.
Did you talk about the sign here?
We didn't talk about it.
And I also see in my notes here, you're planning on putting 2 exterior signs.
That actually just got revised, so we're actually only planning on doing the one sign there. And then in this window, it's actually going to be an interior sign that says cocktails.
Okay.
So we would have gone with light bright to go directly above that right window, but unfortunately, they have a 10-week lead time. And also because of the new rules in place, and so we can only have one sign, we figure it's best just to apply for one sign and work with that.
So adjourn for the special permit. And,
Now, who's gonna run this? You two?
What was that?
Are you gonna be on site or you're just gonna be jumping back and forth?
We'll No, we're gonna be on the
Or
site.
the
Under the space of Newport, actually got shut down, unfortunately, our landlord didn't review our case. So originally the intention was to open Lone Wolf and run the other venue. Now it's gonna be solely focusing all of our energy on this.
And our staff from our first venue is gonna be coming to the second venue.
What's the venue in Falls?
Future TV. So we had a good 4.5 year stretch over there, and we had a phenomenal turnout from people from all over the country. And when people heard news that Fuchsia was closing, we kept this kind of on the back burner for a few months, and we didn't want to announce it until we were absolutely sure that this was the perfect home for it.
What's your anticipated opening date?
So we're looking at the first week of November, contingent upon our CO. But other than that, I think we're almost ready to go. Right now, we're in the R&D stages of food.
And you're working with the liquor authority now? You've got your
We
application in?
yeah, we do have our temporary liquor license already.
Okay, good.
See, there's some verbiage in here about recommended term for the special permit. What is, what are you suggesting?
As you know, the term would be renewable. When it renews, as long as there are no changes, it would just be an administrative action for the office and back to the board.
So
Given
changes being like changing of ownership of the building or
ownership
the
or
business?
an addition on, business change, yeah. Like obviously, if they put something like an awning on the front of the building, I wouldn't consider that a significant change to bring back.
Okay. Is everybody on board okay with that as far as term? Okay.
We do need to set the term.
Yeah, we'll do that because does there have to be a defined?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, do we want to go with a 1 year term first?
That's your usual for new business,
Yeah.
and then
Everybody's good with that? Okay. Typically, we, for the first go around with a special permit, we generally have a 1 year term so that, you know, another year comes back, you come back, if everything is good, no complaints or police, extensive police reports, we would then go ahead and move on for a longer term. So
Makes sense.
anything else? Anybody else have any questions from the board? All right, so under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. We're going to ask for a Knox box to be installed on the building. You're going to remain owner of the building? Okay. That's for after hours use by the fire department, so we're not operating windows and doors. Your keys are in the secure box, and fire department's the only one that has the key to get in. Okay, we're gonna require that as well. Okay, right? All right, so this time I will make a motion that we approve item number 3. And what do we have on here? We're gonna go through
policies.
4A, 6, 19, and 25. And the 1 year term, we're going to go with that. And, okay, approval as presented. So that is a motion. Do I have a second on that? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody. Say hi to Patty too, will you?
I will, very well, thank you, yeah.
Good luck.
She doesn't enjoy it, no offense, she doesn't enjoy these.
That's okay.
Not her cup of tea.
Just in case somebody else has.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Okay. 356 Broadway is not here yet?
Yeah.
All right, still in public hearings. Item number 4 is 36 St. James Street, special permit for an eating/drinking establishment with alcohol service. Section block and lot is 56.92-4-14.100. Transect zone is T4N-R. Ward 4, Samuel Shapiro is the applicant, Paul Biker is the owner. Anybody besides the owner or applicant wishing to speak on item number 4? Okay, let's see. Welcome, and can you state your name for the record, please?
Samuel Shapiro.
All right. All right, so this is the building next to the parking lot for Keegan Ales, right? So go ahead and tell us what your plans are.
Yeah, so my family ran a summer camp for 75 years in Sullivan County, and I kind of wanted to recreate some of that nostalgia of what summer camp feels like in terms of activities and people being able to, you know, hang out in space together and create those kinds of memories. And so basically, we've got 3 spaces in the building. We've got the front space, which
We got a picture of that behind us.
oh, perfect. Yeah. So we have this front space, which is our mercantile. We're going to be having primarily a focus on local provisions, local goods, both products as well as edible items. We have a grab and go fridge built out in there. And then there's one table for just like community seating basically, and like a little bit of bar seating as well, just for people to be able to relax, hang out.
So the sale items basically, are they consumables like food products, or are they
It's
gonna
both.
be like, would they be craft or artistic? I mean,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, let me elaborate. So yeah, so basically the products that we're gonna have will be a combination of food-based products, so whether that's a bag of chips or something made by like Common Table, for example, who hopefully we'll have in our grab and go, cooler, open refrigerator, as well as physical products. So that will include things that are like good for use of the greater outdoors. So like bug spray, a first aid kit, some like tinctures, things like that. Like for, basically we'll have like a little pharmacy section. Again, recreating this camp environment in how we approach our retail. And then we'll also probably end up with apparel as well in some capacity. So we're working on a lot of those product lines ourselves, and then we're also sourcing from local vendors too.
Okay. Something new you just added to the application over the weekend, you added that whole back section with the pool table, the like
Yeah,
lounge
that
type
was in the
area
application.
and that, so can you kind of explain how that kind of works in with the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically again, in this idea of like our community having a space where they can go and hang out, they don't necessarily have to buy something, right? So like if you were a restaurant, somebody can't just come in and sit at a table and sit forever. At our space, people could come in, they can co-work, we have high-speed internet, they can sit in any of these spaces, whether you're sitting on a couch or you're sitting on one of the stools, whether you need a break to play a game of pool in the middle of work, or you are, wanting to gather with friends to discuss something or play Settlers of Catan. Basically, we develop spaces for people to be able to do that work, do the co-working, have some snacks if they want to, have a beer if they want to. We have full coffee service as well. So that's kind of the function of those back spaces.
This is planning board. Are you looking for, you're looking for planning or community development?
Planning.
Planning, this is planning.
Okay.
Okay, you're 356,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll jump back, no, we'll jump back to you.
Okay.
You pass over,
All
we'll
right.
jump back.
Thank you.
Yeah, find a seat. All right.
We'll also probably hold in the room that has the pool table. We're building a countertop at the top of that so that we can hold art workshops and creative programming in that capacity. Again, my goal is to work through this camp nostalgia, have people be able to come and kind of be in that type of space that's safe for all and open and offering the various retail things that we discussed.
And so you're also working with the State Liquor Authority for alcoholic
Yeah, so we're
service?
So where we're at right now is that we've gotten approved for our liquor authority, we've got our temp license, we have approval for all of our building inspections, not a final approval from the building inspectors, so we have passed our electric, passed our plumbing. We only outfitted, so we just did interior fitting for our build out in this space. Paul Biker had with Scott Dutton had done the main foundational build out of the space. So yeah, basically, other than waiting for the building department to give us our final go ahead, we have all of the approvals and everything has been stamped and good to go.
Okay.
And can you talk about your hours of operation you're planning?
Yeah, I will say it's like slightly tangential because we want to be in support of our community. So if our community isn't showing up at certain times, we'll adapt. But the idea is that we are an open space, and I think that a lot of people in Kingston, myself included, have been looking for something consistent, somewhere where you don't have to guess if they're open or they're closed, somewhere you don't have to wonder if the hours have changed or whatever it is. So my hope was to be open early for the people that I know that need to get their coffee early and don't have a place necessarily to go. So our hope was to be open by about 7:30 in the morning, serving mostly just coffee, some other beverages. People can access our pantries and our grab-and-go fridges and all of that good stuff in the morning. And then we would switch over and have our bar available at night. Again, our grab-and-goes, our pantry, all of our items will be for sale the entire time. And we're thinking basically Sunday through Wednesday, we will be open at 7:30 and we will close around 10. And then we are thinking Thursday, Friday, Saturday that we would stay open till 11.
Do you have any agreements or plans with Egan Ale to do stuff with them?
Yeah, Lisa.
That's, you don't have any ownership of that parking lot, right? Is it?
So we have a 30-foot easement
Okay.
on the side of our building, but we don't have ownership necessarily. And again, I guess I don't want to overspeak because I don't actually truly understand the dynamics there completely, but I have spent time with Lisa. I talked to her before I ever signed a lease. I made sure that everybody was comfortable with what I was interested in doing. I also have known Lisa for a long time. I grew up in Woodstock, so I am from this area originally. And yeah, so we have talked about potentially like doing some co-events or like having some kind of collaborative things, which I'm very excited to dive into because I just think it's such a cool part of Kingston and it has such a unique identity. So really grateful to be in that
You're
space.
part of the meeting.
I'm sorry.
No, we jumped ahead a little bit.
I was watching live stream.
Ah,
Saw that.
And this is Paul Biker.
Hi.
No, maybe you should drive real fast.
Oh, I did.
yeah. Just answering some questions.
Good. Continue.
Any signage you have proposed for the outside through?
We do have some signage. We're doing it as all of the tenants, so we have that kind of wrapped up now, and I should be sending that to Sue probably tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, as opposed to doing individual tenancies, I spoke with Paul, and obviously it's his business. We wanted them to do a comprehensive plan for the whole building.
Okay.
So that it all kind of goes into a planned scheme.
Right.
So we're waiting on that. And Paul, that does have to include all window signage, and if there's sandwich board signs, all of that should be kind of included. If you're thinking of that kind of style of sign, make sure that all gets blended into that one comprehensive package, okay?
Can I just get a little clarification on that? So in terms of like a sandwich board sign, are you referring to like if we have a menu on the interior wall? Or
No.
for-
Anything
for-
that's exterior,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have talked about window signage, yes.
Okay, all right.
We'll have something.
So the kitchen, let's just talk about your kitchen.
Yeah.
You're going to be preparing these grab and go kind of products in that kitchen, right? They're not prepared outside and then like here, but you prepare them and then put them in the
Yeah, so we'll have,
cooler.
yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we'll have an assortment of different things, like I mentioned. So we're working with, hopefully we're gonna be working with like the poke bar to have one of their items in there. We're working hopefully with the common table to have some of theirs. I like the idea of the food being collective as much as the product that we have. But our kitchen, which really, I'm just gonna stand up so I can point to it because it's easier. This space is the only prep space we actually have. This whole front section right here is coffee and local goods and pantry items. We have shelving that is built into this whole front base of this bar so that we can have additional retail items and pantry items. And then this is basically one under-counter fridge, one under-counter freezer. We have no gas, everything is electric tabletop. It's very simplistic and we're not doing a complicated, like made to order situation. We will be working to prep some of that stuff under the regulations of the ag and markets. And that's kind of like how we're doing it. But this is basically our like 10-foot little kitchen space.
So no ventilation to the adjoining property?
No.
So there's no fumes or anything?
No, no
we have to
fumes.
Worry about from that?
No, we don't have a deep fryer. We're not even
Okay.
producing any real grease whatsoever, but we did abide by whatever we've been asked for in terms of grease traps and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a very simplistic, like we're talking salads and tuna fish, that kind of thing.
And still reading here that the building construction and lease agreement might be in conflict with what the proposed use is. Can you elaborate?
Originally, it had been, the way it was written and presented, we looked at it as a restaurant. And it was supposed to, not supposed to be a restaurant, it was supposed to be more in the mercantile. Kind of like Rosie's down, I kind of think of it as Rosie's downtown, if you're familiar with that business. Seems to be what is going on here,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, it'll be a similar thing like that. Yeah, and we have our permitting from Market Max. They did their inspection to confirm that we fit within the bounds of what they consider mercantile and not consider mercantile. And yeah, there was a little miscommunication. Partly, I just was asking people when I was figuring this stuff out, and people were like, "Yeah, go talk to Corey," and I was like, "Hey, Corey," and he turned out to be not the person I was supposed to talk
Okay,
to.
so there, you do still need to square off with the building department, make sure all your code compliance is there, that there is separation because there are residential uses up above.
Yes.
Obviously, I don't know, do you ever plan to have like entertainment? You talked about like some nighttime stuff, but if you do have entertainment, there's a noise ordinance and we'll put
Yes.
that into, the approval, just so
Yeah,
you're aware of
absolutely.
your surroundings and the
For sure.
neighbors.
Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely. Yeah.
And I see ADA access needs to be indicated.
That's, that they will need to confirm with the requirements of the building department.
And that'll all be a condition of approval too.
Yep.
We're also going to ask for a Knox box to be installed. I think you have one on your
It's
building.
already been done.
Okay, very good.
There is one there already, Paul?
Yeah,
Okay.
and my son's a volunteer firefighter, so it was like the first thing he was.
Okay.
It's there, yeah.
Good. And refuse, how's that going to be handled? You got dumpsters or?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes, we actually have a shared agreement with Keegan Analyst to reduce the number of dumpsters, so Lisa and I, or actually Lisa and my wife Jen, have worked together to split the cost of two larger dumpsters from the same organization that will be large enough for both buildings to share.
Do we need language on that too for our purposes or?
I'll just make a note of it.
Okay.
The upstairs tenants will still have the access to the containers provided by the city.
Tenants.
Okay.
Yeah, the upstairs residential tenants will still use the recycling bins that are currently in place. And Sam, you had also talked about working with, doing some recycled composting.
Yeah, we're working with, blanking on the name of the organization, but a local Kingston organization for compost, because we're trying to keep most of our food
Good.
scraps in compost.
Nice. Anything else from you?
You're willing to return,
All right,
and then when you get your final liquor license, you'll have to provide a copy of that.
Absolutely.
so typically, as I don't know if you heard with the first applicant here, term of special permit will be, we typically do a 1 year, see how things go, come back and we'll certainly entertain expanding,
Sure.
expanding it. So everybody on the board is good with that, a 1 year term for the initial, that's what we usually do, okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, you're good with the staff then? All right, under seeker, it's a type 2 action, so again, no further review of the board is required. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 4, period of 1 year with, do you want to read all those on
I will.
there? Conditions.
Just make sure I have these right. Hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 7:30 to 11 p.m. All right. You will return to the planning board if you decide to extend to outdoor dining. You will submit a copy of your liquor license when you get that from the SLA. You'll work with the building safety department for compliance with code and ADA requirements. The owner will be submitting a comprehensive sign package for the entire structure, entire building and all its occupancies. This is operating using a shared dumpster with the adjoining property owner, and board policies 4, 4A, 6, 11, 12, 19, 25, and 26.
Don't get a letter on all this, right?
Yeah.
I got it.
All right, so that is a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Sage Newkirk. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Good seeing you. Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to jump back to you folks now, okay?
Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Any close here? All right, moving back to item number 2 in public hearings. This is 356 Broadway. It's a special permit renewal to operate a boarding house. Section block and lot is 56.43-8-61.1. Seeker determination, transect zone is E5MS Ward 9. PVG Group LLC is the applicant owner. We didn't have anybody wishing to speak on this before, so,
Yeah.
other than the applicant owner, so welcome. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Trevon Gilliard.
All right. All right, so the original approval was received in September of 2015, and you've continued to return for annual renewals. Have you had any changes at all since the last time?
We had some changes in our tenants, so right now we're only down to one tenant. There were some issues with rent during COVID, so.
But you still have the same amount of rooms, right?
Same amount.
Okay. All right. We also see there have been no issues or complaints filed with building safety since the previous renewal. You had an operating permit issued on March 30th of 2023. So it took expire in 2025. We have no police incidents, right? Okay, that's good. Now, let's see here. Then parking is still access from Jansen Avenue? Yeah. So a term for the special permit, we're not bound by an annual, right? On this one, are we bound by an annual?
Let's not be.
Not anymore.
Okay.
No. And when it does renew, if there's no changes, you don't come back to this board. You would just come back to us at staff level. We handle it administratively, as long as there's no changes or no real police problems or anything, but I don't expect that, and there hasn't been, so.
Nice.
Make it a little easier.
I've asked for that for a couple of years.
A lot of people do.
Do you think it's prudent to have the expiration date of this
That would make sense.
2025
Yeah.
when that building, when the operating permit expires? Okay. Is everybody good with that? So we'll have that coincide with the operating permit expiration.
Okay,
Then you'll come back to the other board like she had mentioned.
okay, sounds good, thank you.
All right. So do you have do they need an operations plan because of the new code?
Yeah, we'll get one.
Okay.
We can, if they can be submitted. to
And you may have
staff.
already had all these discussions with staff already, so, and they'll give you a letter of what's going to be required. Anything else? Any questions from the board on this? Okay. So under seeker, it's type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. So at this time, I will make a motion that we approve item number 2 with an expiration to coincide with the operating permit expiration of 2025, March 30th, 2025. And all original conditions carried forward?
and submission of operation plan to staff.
Submission of operations plans to staff. That is a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, second by Vince Archer. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right. Have a good night. Okay, item number 5 is 256 Washington Avenue, site plan / special permit for renovation of an existing building to include 47 apartments in a boarding house with major waiver to exceed the number of units in a multi-class. Section block and lot is 56.90-4-36. Secret determination, transect zone is T4N, Ward 3, 256 Washington Avenue, LLC is the applicant. Sarah, I know you want to speak, but where should she stand?
Just right,
Or over?
stand like right there between the two gentlemen so that you'll be on the screen and we'll also be able to hear you.
Okay, so Sarah Wink is our first speaker, so go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wink. I live at 115 Main Street, which is half a block from this proposed project. I want to begin by saying that my neighbors and I are not opposed to this project. We welcome housing for our disadvantaged community members. There are questions, however, and we want to begin the conversation about them here. A major concern is about the quality of life being offered to potential residents. Based on the presented plans, these are very, very small living spaces. Most are less than 300 square feet, some are less than 200 square feet. It's not clear that all of them conform to state minimums or offer closets or room for a chair or two methods of egress. Some appear to barely have room to hold a twin bed. If, as the owners stated at the September planning board meeting, this is, quote, permanent housing for people who need affordability, unquote, this is a very constrained life indeed. It looks more like warehousing than real housing, especially given that there will apparently be no common areas available to residents, also as stated by the owners at the last planning board meeting. If the number of units is reduced, the spaces could be enlarged and quality of life improved. Just because 60 people may have lived at Chis's doesn't mean that's the right number of people for this location, especially if it's meant to be long-term or permanent housing. We also have questions about parking. The owners seem to believe that no residents will own cars. Will this be the case? If not, are there plans for including on-site parking? If there's going to be an increase in street parking in the area, a traffic study is warranted, as several area streets are too narrow for two-way traffic when cars are parked on both sides of the road. Neighbors are curious about the track record of Home Properties Group in developing, managing, and maintaining a property like this, or other properties in general. There is virtually no information about them available online. If they have developed other similar sites, we'd like to know more about them, where they're located, and how they're functioning. We read the letter submitted by Family of Woodstock, and that also raises questions. First of all, the letter states that, quote, ownership already has a relationship with surrounding properties. This comes as a surprise. We have about 11 households on our neighborhood email group, and to my knowledge, none of them have heard anything from ownership. We've been told by Rennie Scott Childress that Family of Woodstock is open to meeting with us, and we definitely plan to do that. Ownership has made no attempt to communicate with neighbors about their plans. Family of Woodstock states they will be providing on-site support, but only during the day, Monday through Friday. As nearby neighbors, we have concerns about nights and weekends and what kind of oversight can be made available for those times. There is also no information provided about the targeted population for this project, which we would like to better understand. We have concerns about who will be living in the property and how they will be vetted and chosen for residents, if indeed there is going to be a vetting process. In the past, Chiz was on site 24/7 and was able to handle incidents as they occurred. Prior to that, there was no full-time supervision, and there were ongoing disruptions outside of the buildings. For neighbors, a clear understanding of the resident population and the rules for acceptable conduct is obviously essential. This project has great potential, but it's important that it offer a decent quality of life to those housed there, and that the needs and concerns of the neighborhood be taken into account. Thank you.
Is that, do we have that copy?
That's for you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And I don't know, Philippe, you want to say?
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak?
I could speak.
Okay.
I think Sarah pretty much,
Her name.
Yeah, can you state your name for that?
Philippa Gaudet,
I'm
my
sorry, your name
address,
again?
Philippa, Felipa. My last name is Gaudet, Gaudet. And my address is 127 Pearl Street. And we're on the corner of Washington and Pearl, so we're on the same block as this.
Okay, thank you.
So I think Sarah captured it very well, like a lot of our concerns, but I just want to share, like for our house, one of our biggest concerns is the number of people that are proposed. I think that number of units is really too much for that space, and to compare the Family Woodstock Darmstadt shelter is very big, and it has a fraction of the number, so up to 21 men and women could be in that space. So that's a pretty big difference. The other question that we have is really just that on-site support. So I've been living in my house for 21 years. We've been there before TIS, we've been there during TIS and after, and the crumbling of what happened there. And before TIS, there were literally fist fights where people were choking each other on the street and almost knocking our kids over. So this was very concerning. There was a lot of drug use, a lot outdoors, and I had a bag. Someone left a bag with a buck knife and a change of clothes outside of my house. Someone else left a backpack with pills and beer on my porch. It was bonkers. And whenever TIS really came in and made that a great space, she had a lot of vibrancy and energy. So she came in, people were outside gardening. It was really a great space. It was very supportive. When there were incidents, she took care of them because she lived there 24/7. Most of those incidents happened in the evenings and nighttime. And so she was there. And it's not that, we want something to be absolutely perfect, but we do need things to be manageable in the neighborhood for everyone who lives there. The number of people there, I think that it just, for me, it's unsettling. It feels like an SSI money grab whenever you try to put 60 people in a space like that and you know that you have a guaranteed source of income. And I would hope that we want something better for the people in our community who are vulnerable populations. So my question is, is who are the targeted populations who will be living there? Can we have a guarantee that Family of Woodstock will still be there despite any kind of ebb and flow in their funding? And can we have a guarantee that they'll be there 24/7 in order to really support the residents there? Is there a board that oversees housing for people with mental health needs to make sure that the facility is up to par and that the spaces are adequate for the residents? And I just want to, thank everyone for the process and just bring up that I also want to know, is there a recourse if it's not actually being run well? Like if we're having a lot of problems in the neighborhood, what happens at that point? And also what happens if Family of Woodstock pulls out? When TIS pulled out, it was really bad for the people who lived there and we got to witness it. They were wandering, they had no heat. It was really sad. And it created a big problem where there was just no housing at all. So I am 100% in support of housing people who are in vulnerable populations, and I want to see that it's done well so that they have a good quality of life and our neighborhood has a good quality as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. We'll have the applicants come up.
And we're going to close the public hearing. Please.
At this time,
One more.
we're going to close the public hearing on 256 Washington Avenue. And that doesn't, then we can continue to have.
That one's broken.
Yeah, there's one.
There were public notice.
Today's one.
And the public can still submit commentary project too, so, but we're just going to put this in the public hearing this time. Welcome, everybody. Can you state all your names to the record?
Sure, Stephen Gurn Golden.
Daryl Hamlin.
John Steinmeier.
Michael Berg.
So, yeah, go ahead. You were going to say something?
Yeah, we'll provide you with a copy of the one written comment, and then we will be summarizing the other verbal comment, and we'll get you that. And I would just ask that you, if you want to try and provide some response now, or
Sure.
if you want to wait and, answer them.
We're happy to, as much as we can at this point. I don't remember everything
Okay.
we said, so we'll
Right.
do what we can.
Yeah, no, thank you. First of all, we appreciate your comments, and I think honestly, we share a lot of those same goals. Since the last meeting in September, we've met with Sue and with Kyla and really focused on addressing a lot of those concerns. So we've reduced unit count. We've gotten rid of the boarding houses in the main structure. We made sure that every unit has a kitchenette, so there's no longer any boarding houses in the structure. We worked with John, our architect, to provide common space. We realized that would be helpful for the residents, so, we now have a rather large common space in the building. With respect to our project and, the way we're gonna run it and staff it, and I'll let Michael speak to Family of Woodstock's programs. We wanted to find a way to, house as many people in an appropriate way that we could, and that's been a balance with Michael. He's been helping us plan the whole time. There really is a large need for housing. I guess I just want to make clear that we certainly hear your concerns, and we've been adjusting and editing our plans accordingly, reducing unit count, adding common space. And I just wanted to start with that.
Yeah, so, we appreciate the comments, as Stephen said. We do own other things in the neighborhood as well, on Bloomfield and St. James. And we have regular apartments that are market rate apartments, or whatever you want to call them, that are the same size as the average unit is this, and including the smaller ends. I think a lot of the smaller end units are eliminated, at least the smallest ends have been eliminated to create more program space. We understand the challenges or the pros and cons of what Shizzy's house used to be. This is going to be a brand new, beautiful, and we've been happy to walk you through what the finished product will look like, because I think anyone would be happy to live there. It's a really beautiful finish, and we're really proud of the product that we're going to deliver, and really, provide new housing and accommodations for our residents. We came up with this idea because we are in the neighborhood, and we understood uniquely the problems that was happening with housing here. And we thought this was a really good way to do good and do good at the same time. So we take that very seriously. That was the thesis of our investment and our idea, was that we thought we could provide with the community, and not just profiteer. So glad that you got a chance to put a face on it. I'm happy to speak with you or meet with you or exchange, contact information. We didn't do that out of avoidance. We just didn't have your information, and now we do. So I'm sure you'll see that we're extremely communicative and responsive and take this very seriously. We do have a management team here that really just is within a 2-3 block radius. So we feel extremely confident that we'll be able to address anything after hours that needs to be addressed. As Stephen said, I'll let Michael speak to Family Woodstock's programming and constituents, but I think as far as the questions you asked about physical structure and our abilities to cope with that, we feel extraordinarily confident. We don't want to have problems, the same problems that previous owners had. We want to run a first-class building and organization for the community and for the building.
So a family runs a lot of scattered site apartments right now. And we find that the model is not as effective as what we're proposing here, because we're going to be on site from 8 until 6, 5 days a week. So we will be able to meet with people, give them services that they need, develop programming that they, and help them access it. We will also have some ability to help them to get services. So if you know about homeless people, a lot of their difficulty is that they cannot get to the services that they need. And the fact that this is in Kingston, right near bus stops, right near transportation, and that most of the services that are available are in Kingston and are expanding in Kingston, I feel is a really good thing. Our case managers know virtually all of the services that are available. We work with them all the time. And our goal is to help them, people to define what their goals are and then to help them access whatever services are available. And we do a good job of that. Now, I want to say the people that we'll be serving, some of them are going to be domestic violence survivors, some of them are going to have mental health issues, a lot of them are going to be traumatized. Our experience is that virtually the entire population at this moment is traumatized, and you can see it in the way that people negatively react to virtually everything. But the fact that, I understand what you're saying about the size of apartments, but the reality is they're going to be a studio. So they might have some more space, but I have friends that live in the West Village of Manhattan. In fact, there's a place that I consider my second home, and it's tiny, but people have made it into something very special. I mean, they're paying rents for those apartments beyond what I could have considered. So my point is only that lifestyle is in part how you're feeling, how stable you are. The thing about Chiz is that nobody was stable. And now people are going to have permanent supported or rapid rehousing apartments. And they'll have support and they'll have a community because they're in Kingston. I can't say that it might be better if it was only 20 units, but I have to say that we run the emergency service in the county. I received an email from the person that did Saturday night. He said that there were 10 people he could not find hotel rooms for. There was a real serious situation there. And so if we can find acceptable apartments, we support it. I mean, we'll do everything that we can. I'm a very public person, and if you have problems, I would expect you to call me. I get calls like that. But at the same time, I have to say this is really needed, and the people that we would be helping need it.
Michael, can you just, I know you touched a little bit on it last month when we met, but just talk about how the people come to you to be placed, because this isn't transitional, so it wouldn't be like an emergency.
No, it's permanent supportive housing.
Permanent housing, but there's a
And I want to say that we're going to be writing grants that will help pay for the cost of this. And those grants are for 5 years. We wouldn't take this on casually. And
You had mentioned, or maybe it was Bartek that mentioned, there's a continuum.
oh, yes, okay. Well, there's I chair an entity called the Continuum of Care. It's a requirement of HUD in order to be able to get $1.6 million of federal aid for housing. And one of their rules is that every homeless person has to be evaluated and scored. And then the people that find the apartments are the people that have been evaluated and are part of this list. So some of the people that were at CHIS's would never get to this list because they're not willing to participate in the system as much as that. But a lot of them would, and their issues would be defined and participating in the program would also be defined.
Thank you.
Sure.
One thing I know that was mentioned by the women, and then also we had talked a little bit about it. So Family of Woodstock will be staffing this Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday from 8 until 6.
Okay, and is that 1 or 2 workers?
We will have 2 workers on site, but I also have to say, a number of the people that are going to be in this program, we have worked with for a while. So they may have other case managers that are part of our staff that may also work with them. But there will be staff on site full day for 5 days a week. And I believe that the owners are going to have some additional staff.
Yeah, we're gonna have 2, we can call them supers, but, managers on site every day.
Okay, would there be the potential to do like a split shift and maybe like have one come earlier and then have a little overlap and then one stay a little later to get additional hours?
Well, we already did that. We could make it a little bit later if it's felt.
And I was thinking with the early evening hours, maybe like one of their concerns.
I don't know if what you're concerned about is coverage or support. For support,
Access, I think, is, giving them the most hours where they could have access to somebody to
we
help
certainly
them
can look
and
at
answer
that.
questions.
I don't disagree with it.
Okay.
I have to say, finding staff these days is not easy. I'm sure you understand that, but hopefully that also will ease up.
Yeah.
And as far as your management on site, you have prescribed hours for them too?
So we have a building 2 blocks away, or roughly 2 blocks away, someone lives full time, who's on staff. So the goal is to have him there every day, kind of walking the property every day, and then he's on call. And then we have somebody else who just is sit there from, call it 9 o'clock in the morning to about 3, just doing more maintenance work. But we could easily staff up if we need to.
And when you say on call, how does that change start? Where
Right. It would be the hotline.
Okay.
The clients would know that they could call the hotline. The hotline can access the caseworkers that are there.
All right.
Is there a possibility that someone would reside on this site that isn't a client through you, or are they are all going to be going through Family?
No, I think that there could be people that would approach us that are working and could afford to pay what we've committed to pay. I'm not totally committed to being, there are no motels because a lot of people that are working are taking units. And we're part of Golden Hill, which is the only project that is focused on working individuals. And so I support that. I would have no problem with that. It would be a good thing.
And I think that the concern is also like what happens after hours. If there's something, if there's an issue, whether it's medical or I know they would call 911, but, an issue with a broken water pipe on, how does, so that somebody.
Yeah, so physical, that's real estate, right? Things happen and pipes break and lights break. And so we have someone to come fix that immediately.
And he texted, the person he's referenced is extremely responsive. We've had issues in our building where there's an issue with a pipe. He's very local, he's super responsive, and we're confident that any kind of building related management issue, we'd be able to.
We also have other services as well, like, depending on the severity of the problem, but you have, plumbers, electricians, we have all those sort of, at least the ones we like to work with on speed dial. So
I was on the first site visit with John, and I appreciate that you opened it up twice for that. And as we were out in the parking lot in the back, before we went inside, I had been part of the fire department for 32 years, and we've been to a number of incidents at this place for various circumstances. So, and I said to John that we have an opportunity here to make everything right. And, you know, start from scratch, you know, and I'm not knocking, I mean, she did wonderful things there.
Absolutely.
And, you know, sometimes it's a Herculean effort and a lot of stuff is piled on her you know, I truly believe we have an opportunity we're starting from scratch. The place is gutted, right, down to the studs. And let's get everything that we can possibly get right now before we start putting up, you know, sheetrock.
Totally.
And, you know, and let's do this right, you know, and the neighbor, and I've also talked about neighbors, the complaints that there have been in the past.
Yeah.
Concerns. So it all kind of coincides, everything, you know, comes together in one big ball for let's get this thing right.
Absolutely.
You know, at this level.
And I think that's really exciting for us. And I think a part of like, we didn't own it before. We didn't own it when Chiz was a thing. We didn't own it prior to that when there was issues. So there's nothing I can do to erase those memories.
Yeah.
What Steve and I have been very serious about since the onset of this is that we're going to take this opportunity to turn this around entirely. This reputation thing, we can't do anything but inherit it. However, we're very serious about changing every stakeholder in the neighborhood's minds about this one site because we agree with you. We have this opportunity to make it beautiful. And I think, I don't know if you got a chance to walk through the carriage house.
The one in the back?
Yeah.
That we did not.
Okay, so I invite you to come back there. I mean, it's nicer than some of our regular apartments, and it's a really beautiful place to live, and we're really proud of how that came out. And so I think that gives a really good demonstration of how the building's gonna look when it's done, the entire building. And I think anyone who would walk through there would be really thrilled to live there, and that's the kind of product that we want to deliver.
Because taking on this, you know, ownership, you're going to be compared to all the other owners in the past.
Sure,
So yes, it's already happening, right?
And to expand on what Daryl was saying is, you know, because we felt that way, that's the reason we reached out to Michael. And
Right.
we understand that family runs a first-class organization, and we wanted to make sure that we have the management right. And that's why I think we found the perfect partner, and hopefully we're gonna really not have a lot of the historical issues. But that really drove the decision to work with Michael because
We have professional staff, with people who are highly trained and dealing with, you know, this exact sort of population. So
go ahead.
I do want to say though that people have needs, people have damage. There will be some incidents. I don't want to make a statement that I can't.
And we're not, I'm acknowledging that is going to happen probably. So we just want to have, to make everything right.
But what I would say is that we will respond and we will see that people get the help that they need to the extent that they're willing to receive it. And I think that's all that we can do right now in the society as it is. But we've run a lot of programming. We have about 100 apartments around the county. We're running 4 shelters. And we really have not had a lot of police incidents at all in our programs.
I guess there's one, we do, I believe you brought up our relationship with the Premier Woodside. We have rented to a number of our units to them in our other buildings. And I
That's a good reference that you
right,
said.
yeah, and that's how we actually met Michael initially, and we've had extremely positive interactions with everybody at the organization, whether it's minor problems. We actually have been very fortunate, not only that we haven't had any major problems with the population that lives in our portfolio at this moment, since we came here. And that was a reason why we wanted to work with Family Woodstock to begin with, because we've only had positive experiences of communication and just respectfulness and level of professionalism. So that's a large part of what drove that decision.
So if we can talk about apartment sizes now. I mean, when I first saw the plans on paper, they look tiny, okay? They're minimum requirements from state code and what have you. But I want to say that in the walkthrough, I think it gave me a better perspective as to, the actual size of the units. And it seemed to be appropriate for me. But then I got to thinking about, some of the amenities that each apartment is going to need. The refrigerator, the cooking facilities. like the size of the refrigerators, are they real tiny? Are they like college
They're
dorm?
below, it's a kitchenette unit, it's a basically like a modular kitchenette unit where the refrigerator is built into the unit and it's below the counter level.
Okay.
Can you put up the kitchen? One of the, I know you had given us the, I guess, the spec of the kitchen
Yep.
unit itself. And it seems really, really small. And I understand that for some of the units, maybe that's the appropriate scale size. But you do have some larger units and, you know, some of them you are contemplating to be two-person. So maybe a slightly larger unit might be appropriate in some of the others. You get like two types and, you know, scale them to what is more appropriate. Because there's not a lot of work surface, there's not a lot of storage space. So if somebody is going to live there on a permanent type basis, you know, they're going to end up probably grocery shopping almost every day or every other day. And, you know, that.
Yeah, I understand that. Sorry.
I mean, maybe I can direct this question to Michael. What are in your experience with this type of housing? I mean, what we're talking about right now, this stuff.
People are living in motel rooms.
I get that, and
This is luxury.
Okay.
But I will say this, I would not expect two people to be living in here. I would expect a mom and a young baby, absolutely.
Okay.
And there are a lot, but we were not envisioning. Now, people move in with each other. I don't think we're going to stop them from doing that, but to some extent, this is.
Something like a husband-wife potentially might be, you know, there's some of the units are large.
Some of the units
Yeah.
Give you that.
Well,
So, I mean, you
if
might
more
have a
can be,
husband-wife.
if more can be fit, I think that's wonderful. I'm just saying that.
I'm not encouraging it,
But in your
What
experience,
you're looking at for the people that, I mean, the apartments that we have are not of this quality. And the accessories don't necessarily work as well. I think it's more to the point that this is brand new and will work than the size. And if one person's living by themselves,
do you think that's appropriately sized? That's
I think if you could have a bigger unit, that would be great, but for space, I think that you can live with a small refrigerator, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that in some of the spaces, the smaller is appropriate, but I think there is an opportunity to maybe provide, you know, a larger alternative. I mean,
The other
given
thing
the
to say
given the
is they are
size of
walking
some of the
distance to the plaza.
rooms, I think
And
there's
so
an
the
opportunity
shopping.
to make it a little bit nicer. you know,
Yeah, no, I
have a
couldn't agree
choice.
more. But it's just a matter of right sizing it to
Yeah,
this overall
exactly.
space that you're living in it.
Let's talk a little bit the community spaces that we have. I know that there's, obviously, family will have their offices there. And I think we had one room or maybe two rooms that are being made available for,
This is a common space room right here.
okay,
And then this is the proposed office for family in Woodstock. And then there's another kind of private counseling room if somebody needs some one-on-one service or counseling.
so the community space is gonna be outfitted. I mean, are you gonna put like, what, a table and chairs, or a couch, or television? What's your vision for that community room?
I would expect that we'll have the TV in it, even though I don't particularly like TV myself.
I'm just, yeah,
I think there has to be livable furniture in it. Just, you know, it's going to be used by a lot of different people. One of the things that would be most useful would be to talk to the people when they're moving in about what other things they would like to see. And maybe we can accommodate some of them. I think the people that we're serving don't have total commonality. So when you say there's a community room, I would want, I'm not sure exactly what it'll be used for. It's available to people. We could certainly make communication available through it.
Well, like
You're living in the
shelters,
city.
it must
You
have
have
like
friends in the
books,
city. When
magazines,
you go out,
games.
yeah, oh, sure.
I mean, stuff like,
Yes, oh,
stuff that
absolutely,
if,
and maybe
if, you know,
books
people
and
in the different
and maybe
groups
even
wanted
some
to come
donated
together.
clothing might
to
be available.
socialize.
Sure. I'm just saying, as far as the social space, the people themselves are gonna have to find their places there. And I think that the people are gonna be almost virtually from Kingston. And so to me, that means that they're already living in their hometown and they have their connections. Now, they've been being shunted around between motels and maybe catching a night with a friend or even a couple of weeks. So this will give them some stability, and then part of that will be for them to figure out what does it mean now to have stable housing, possibly for the first time in a year. So yes, we'll accommodate it in whatever way seems appropriate. I just personally don't know exactly what that should be.
Okay, so you see that as a role of family to work out kind of that, what happens in that
Participate in helping
space
them,
where.
but, you know,
Yeah,
that's an easy accommodation.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the landlords will outfit it with furniture. Then we'll talk with the people about what it is that they want, and, you know, it might be a place to have a group, in which case it'll be different than, it would be nice to, throughout my whole career, I've been trying to convince the government that people that need help need for the services to come to them. I've had no success, very limited. Right now, we have psychotherapists that are coming to our shelters. It really is proving that people can overcome the stigma if they understand and know the people, rather than being scheduled to go to an office. So we could bring stuff. It depends on how much privacy, how much it needs to, but in answer to your question, there are a lot of services that can be brought to people, and they'll have to choose whether they want them. As far as social, I think they're all living in Kingston. Maybe there will be tweaks within this group, but there isn't going to be any natural identity. We're not choosing one group of people to serve. We think that it's a mix is best.
So the other areas that we saw that would be available for like community gathering or just,
Sure.
you know, would be the back porch area or the open space area that you defined, John, on the site plan. So the back porch are there plans to make any improvements? Or I know we talked about the ramp needs to be reconstructed to meet the ADA compliance. Is that intended to stay kind of the same size and just be open air and available, which I think is a nice
Yeah, I
action
think
feature.
so. Again, I think they'll determine what they need out there. If they need additional furniture or tables and things like that, then that'll be determined. But there's no plans on taking that off or changing the deck itself.
Right, okay. And then you just, can I put up the new plan? You just want to kind of go through what your open space and how you've shown that and the little improvements that you're making there.
So the open space area is defined, it's here, this is basically a grassed area right now, so there is a kind of a rudimentary walkway here, we're kind of expanding that, coming over to a gate in this existing fence, providing a couple benches and a table, some outdoor furniture. The open space is also included in this proposed split rail fence area right here. Now, there's an existing deck there that's pretty rough that we're going to take out. How we make improvements in there, it could be a new deck, because there is a little bit of a change in grade there. It could be some fill material and concrete pavers. But again, it's kind of an open space that's available for the residents' use, obviously on nice days. And then we've provided a bicycle rack here on the outside of just on the backside of the accessible ramp, which we previously said needs to be reconstructed. And there's some limited parking. There's not a lot of room there for additional parking, but I don't see parking as a huge demand. So,
We talked a little bit, I know Kyla, maybe I think in an email, had sent out that when we were there, we noticed that gazebo, which is adjacent to the other building, the back building, was being used by the residents, but it's actually on the other person's, your neighbor's property. Is there an agreement or, I mean, people were walking over just using it, and I know it's not on your property.
Right.
I was just curious if
We have no formal agreement with the neighbor.
Okay.
It has been there, as far as we know, for a very long time. It was highly used beloved by people who were living at their home prior. We do plan on beautifying that area as well, and continuing to use it until.
Are you in contact with that property?
We've spoken to them a number of times. Actually, we never brought it up, but we have a dialogue with them.
All right.
Would you consider allowing them to give up a couple of the parking spaces to create more livable space?
More like open space, or?
Well, I mean, if the gazebo, for example, was a significant thing you felt, or the people there felt, you could put a gazebo into two of the parking spaces. Right now we're allocating a lot of the living space to 5 parking spots.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
My thought would be to get up and running and see how this goes. And if it's demonstrated that those parking spaces are not required, because certainly you're going to have staff coming there. So they're going to most likely want a parking space. Your guy is going to probably need a parking space. I'm assuming your maintenance superintendent. So I think some of those spaces will be used on a daily basis for that. And I wouldn't want to just give that up for.
Just, looking at the side, there is some space that could be used in a social way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you do have the covered porch, which is really, I mean, that's a big, big porch.
Yes.
So I think that kind of fills that void there.
True.
That would be my thought. Anyway.
Do you foresee any issue with that large covered deck in the back? There's 2 units with windows that go right out to that, and that's going to be a commonly used common space. And any issues with noise going through those windows if someone's living right there?
We have several buildings that have, like, on our front porch, they have units facing out. I mean, I think it's pretty common, especially in Kingston, we have people still having seating areas out front.
Okay.
I think it's like anything else, to the extent it becomes a management issue, we'll work with Michael's staff, we'll work with, our people on site, just to make sure that, we control it as best as possible.
Do you foresee any of your occupants having vehicles?
No, I mean, we're on the bus path. We have, in our other buildings are similar, occupants do not have cars. We have ample parking there, we do not have cars. Bikes, walking to town, the patient as compared to where the nature is pretty great. So we feel comfortable with that, but we don't foresee a huge parking need.
Do you see in any of your other locations, the e-bikes?
We don't have any in the buildings. I mean, as things progress in that industry, it is certainly interesting.
Okay.
Are you talking about potentially having a docking station here?
Yeah, and that was a concern that was raised at our staff meeting when we met, from the fire department. They had a concern.
In a positive way or a negative way?
Well, having them charging internally
Right,
in their units, he was concerned about that. So we talked about, if there's an exterior bike rack, potentially making it adaptable so that you could put a
Right.
charging station there. And I don't know enough about the e-bikes to
I don't know
tell
either.
you what it would involve,
Right.
but if, something to think about.
Yeah, we're certainly open-minded to it. The bike rack is a big thing for all of our properties.
Right.
We find that we, obviously, the town's super bikeable and
Yeah.
accessible. As far as e-bikes go, I have not thought about that. We're open-minded to it. It seems like that's a combination, but I don't know, we have to do it.
In the one, document you submitted, you, I think it was from you, said that there are rules and regulations that your tenants are provided. Is it possible to get a copy of those, and is that, I guess they would be kind of administered through family, those rules and regulations? I'm not sure what is involved in them, I'm sure it's like a zero tolerance and maybe hours and.
I'll let Michael speak towards their rules and regulations with their clientele. But in any sort of apartment building, leases, we have do's and don'ts. We don't tolerate smoking, we don't tolerate, destruction of property, harassment of the tenants. But those are all spelled out in our leases. We're happy to give you a copy of that. If that helps. But it's nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay, I was just kind of curious.
I think the most important rule is that the management has access to the apartment.
Yeah, I mean, are you setting curfews on this building at all? I mean, there are apartments, so really, wouldn't be.
I would rather not, because I don't know what hours people are gonna be working.
Yeah.
I think
okay.
that there's more of an issue around sound, and there're gonna have to be issues around how late people can play music and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But there are instances where it doesn't work out. I mean, right now, we have a situation where we're moving somebody out of a two-bedroom apartment because she didn't get along with the neighbors. And, right, wrong, she had later hours, that's kind of, sometimes it just doesn't work. You do what you can to fix that.
Are there cabinets, like, for storage for groceries, things like that, or is it just the tiny kitchenette? Like, is there any cabinetry, double cabinet or anything that would hang above the kitchenette?
There's a
Just
closet and everything, but there's no proposed cabinet.
What about, how do you soundproof in between these acoustical tiling or something? Between
So
the units?
Rockwell makes a sound insulation that we put between each units, and the units are gonna be, they'll have 5/8 sheetrock on both sides, so that, which is a pretty good sound isolator by itself. That combined with some sound bat insulation in between them.
So they're all kind of,
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are common walls, a lot of common walls,
yeah,
yes.
that's what I was saying. You talked about noise or something.
Absolutely, more sound barrier we can make, the less flights. I totally agree with you there.
Acoustical tiling, whatever they call it these days.
And on the tour to the inside, it's hard not to notice the beautiful staircases.
Yeah.
Are your plans to preserve those?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, and we were speaking about it in the staff meeting with Sue and Kyla. The intent is to preserve as much of that as we can. We agree. I think it's a great feature of it, and kind of speaks to the history of it, and we're gonna preserve as much.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, a lot of it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
We couldn't recreate it.
Building had
Yeah.
stairwells and.
There's some cool features.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
And that common area you identified on the first floor there, is that where the common kitchen was? Or
Yes.
that's
Pretty
being
much,
removed?
yeah.
That's where
Yes,
that's gonna
yes.
be? Okay.
Yeah, the commercial kitchen is going.
Okay, because that was one of my questions to you, if there's no boarding house here, what's the need for the commercial kitchen? So that's.
Yeah, the revised plan, that the common kitchen is gone out of
I would say one thing, the fact that this is going to be brand new effectively, and that it has some of the beautiful parts of the building will help make it be kept that way. People respect that they have something That's their own now and special. People have not had any housing and had any stability for a long time, so not everybody, I mean, there are people that, you know, will destroy stuff, but by and large, the people will respect the fact that this is new and that they're in an apartment that's theirs.
Are these units gonna be furnished? Or are the individuals, do they bring their, I mean, are they bringing their own beds, or are you furnishing any of these? How is that going to work?
Well, I'm hoping that the landlord, that the owners will do some of that, and we'll also try and find some furniture. Our problem, if you want to know the truth, is that people offer us furniture every day, and we don't have storage. And people would much rather give it to us than the companies like, you know, that sell it, even at a discounted price, but we've never had enough space to be able to keep it.
It was just a question. So can we talk just a little bit about utilities? I noticed, John, on the new plans that you now have exterior F12 like condensers around the perimeter of the building.
Correct.
So those are your HVACs?
Yeah, those are the.
New for the entire
exterior.
structure, or is it just AC, air conditioning?
No,
or is
that's
it
heat and air conditioning.
Heating and air
So
conditioning.
everything will be electric heat pumps.
Okay. Okay, and you think those 12 are sufficient for,
That's what our
okay,
mechanical contractor is telling us, yeah.
okay, all right, okay.
How about laundry facilities? Is there any plan for?
We discussed that
Yeah.
at the last meeting.
We had thought perhaps in the basement, there's, it's basically a full basement, and we thought that would make the most sense. So we're exploring different things. We've spoken to some providers about laundry, but I think that'll likely be the location.
Okay.
Probably provide some storage too, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Be
So-
careful what you offer.
So the sewer, John, the sewer, there's 3 separate laterals, there's, if I
Sewer-
read
sewer
the
laterals?
drawings correctly,
Correct.
right? Each like old original house had their own sewer.
Correct.
And that's gonna stay that way.
Correct.
So they're not interconnected.
Yeah, there would be just too long a runs to be able
Yeah,
to get
okay.
from the sewer from one
And
end.
water, is water the same way, 3 separate services? And
There are 3
one for the
separate
back?
services, but then there's a main a separate main for the sprinkler system.
Okay.
That comes in on the Main Street building. to
And
Main Street.
that services that whole large structure.
Yeah.
Is the back building sprinklered?
Don't believe the back building is sprinkled. I don't think so. I don't think it needs to be sprinkled.
No,
So
is
the
that
reason this
something
looks sprinkled because it's 3 stories.
Right.
Right, 3-story wood frame
Okay.
structure triggers a sprinkler
Okay.
system.
And then, so no gas or gas? No gas? No gas at all?
I don't think we need gas
Just
for anything.
electric?
Yeah, everything will be heat pumps.
Okay.
You talked about phasing the project too when we were on site. Do you want to speak to that right now?
I think it makes sense to try to get, one of the 3 buildings up and running. On a phase plan, we haven't really discussed exactly which one of those, which building would be the first phase. But I think it's kind of, the timeline to renovate the entire building and get the entire building up to speed is a long timeline. So I think if we did it in phases, it makes sense. Additionally, we're gonna put firewalls in, fire separations between the buildings, so that makes it intelligent break point.
Yeah, and that plan was developed in part just speaking to Michael and hearing about the need for housing. And so we decided that it may take a long time, to John's point, to get everything up and running, but we can hopefully start phasing in so that, he can service more of this community. I mean, I think we were targeting maybe all the way on the right first, right? That was the first.
On the driveway side?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And then, with the construction, if you're phasing that, there's going to be a lot of congestion in that parking area during the construction. You think is going to, how do you going to, is it going to interfere with the folks who live there?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a temporary thing, but I think we're just gonna have to deal with that. Yeah. Might
Would you
be some
be able
jockeying.
to just put together like just a sketch of what your phasing plan is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. For Andrew, you were on site as well as Wayne and Robert, who's not here. Do you have any observations that you wanted to share with board members from your visit? No? Okay. All right. Just wanted to ask. Okay. Mail receptacles. Have you thought about how like mail delivery? I mean, it's a lot. Yeah. I'm not sure what the best solution would be. Obviously, Postal Service is going to be looking for a cluster box
Right.
with a parcel capability.
Yeah, I think we could put an exterior box, maybe coming in the driveway here. Maybe somewhere in this area, right here,
Yeah.
an exterior box so that they can drive in and kind of distribute the mail there. It kind of makes sense. I don't think they're gonna want to go inside, so. divvy up the
Yeah,
mail
I mean, I know,
interior.
I mean, they do walk along the street. I'm not sure with a large facility like this, if it would be a mobile carrier or if it would be a walking, I mean, they do walk the street. That's a walking delivery route, I know that. So I'm not sure what the post office would, how they would bring it there, but I was thinking, somewhere in front, but not on the street, but back off the street.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
if you designed it, you could make it nice actually to blend with the building, nice little feature.
And you're also talking about eliminating some entry points on the.
Right, yeah.
Can you show us which ones are going to be eliminated and which ones?
So I think to your recommendation,
John, if you.
There's a ramp, an old handicap ramp right here, and a set of double doors. This was, I believe, an office at one point. So this double door is getting eliminated along with the ramp. And then there's a small entrance door right here with a little stoop in front of it, and that's getting eliminated there. So those are the only entrance points that are getting eliminated.
So the other porches and the other entries, are you going to promote them as a main point of entering and exiting, or are you going to direct people to a rear entry? How are they going to be able to access freely, whichever? Or are you kind of promoting one entrance over another as the primary?
I think the main entrance would be at the rear here, off of this. There's the door right here. I think these would be more an emergency egress.
Okay.
And are folks who live here going to be, is it going to be keyed entry? How does that keep the place secure? What do you? Key.
Okay, we do need to refer to the county. I think it's refer now.
Yeah, all right. So we are going to refer this to the county planning board for their comments. Oh, John, as when we walk through, everything's down to the studs, right? And you were pointing out a lot of the, I don't even know how to describe it, the patchwork, the hodgepodge of.
Yeah, the center building is really the one that, and we've got a whole structural plan developed. There's a lot of structural work that needs to be repaired on primarily the center building.
So your layout that you've shown with all the rooms is eliminating all those hodgepodge, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's your vision. You see all that stuff, and that's how the.
Yeah, there's a lot of, existing doors and windows that don't have proper headers on them. That's all gonna get repaired. So there's bearing walls that are really not bearing anymore. There's a few locations where we need to put, replace some beams or insert some beams to get the layout to work. But for the most part, we tried to work with the existing structure and the existing room layout as best possible.
Okay. We'll send them stamp notes and then we'll send them all the comments as well.
Okay. And I'm sure there's going to be a continuing flow of commentary from the public on this, even though we've.
You closed the public hearing. Okay.
The public hearing was closed, but there's always the ability of anyone to submit a comment up to the next meeting as well.
Okay.
And they're due the Friday before the meeting, so when we get them, we will forward them off to you guys.
Okay,
So you would
great.
have them in advance as well.
Perfect. And Sue and Kyle, obviously we've been working together just to try to address a lot of concerns. What are next steps? Because, obviously, at the meeting, initially Michael had maybe thought we would start having people in January. And we do want to make an effort just to get, started as quickly as possible. What are the next steps? We'll obviously continue to be responsive and address comments.
Right, we're gonna send you our updated staff notes so that you can start working off of those as well. There's a few additional comments based on the new plans that came through. Some of them we've discussed already tonight, so the answers are already there. We'll just send you a copy of the written comment that we received tonight, as well as, what we took down as notes from the other woman. And then we're gonna refer this to the county planning board. So they should meet before the next meeting. We'll have their comments hopefully back, early enough so that you can address anything that comes through to them. That's really pretty much all that there is. I would possibly be looking at a conditional approval at the next meeting.
Okay.
We can kind of tie some of the loose ends up.
So there was a couple of comments that came through about landscaping and site lighting. Are you looking for a full landscaping plan and a full site
That
lighting
is
plan?
in our notes. If it's refreshing, the landscaping, and potentially adding in, I'm thinking like in front of where you're taking out that door where the ramp ran up to, right? You might we want to see what the treatment is going to be to the exterior of the building. And then if you're going to, put some landscaping in front of that, kind of to carry the plan through. Other than that, I think a lot of it's really just refreshing and cleaning up what's there.
Right,
Because,
right.
there was quite a bit, in the small space that you have. I'm not looking for overload, but really cleaning it up, I think, is gonna make the biggest improvement altogether.
Okay.
As far as lighting, though, I'm glad you brought that up, because if you're gonna use existing light fixtures or poles, and put new heads or new lamps on them, we're gonna need to see that, because we do wanna make sure that obviously that it is a safe and secure site.
Right.
Just be cognizant, we wanna see that light doesn't overflow onto your neighbor's property, that kind of thing. It's, you're gonna do something residentially motivated, not commercial, light style.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? All right, so we're going to refer this to county, and this time I'll make a motion that we table item number 5. Do I have a second on that? Second by Matt Gillis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, see you next month.
Basically change numbers.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
Okay. No, still trying to get a hold of Scott, he's not here yet, so, well, actually 55 is next. 55.
We're not spoken to make a request that it could just jump to 80 quick to table it after that, so I don't have to wait.
Yeah, no, I was planning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
Just my only request.
Wait, to sit around.
I'm exhausted.
You don't like hanging out with us?
No, it's actually, it's interesting. Just have a long day.
I think everybody else. Thanks for your time to get up.
Sarah,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
Hi, how are you? I'm Sue.
Oh, hi, Sue, nice to meet you.
You want to?
Just, let me, ready to go. I can just come sit down there.
Huh?
We jumping ahead.
No, this was-
Oh, no, I am next, but I'm number 8 as well, and I was just going to table it till we really weigh out our options for number 8, but we could talk about that. I'm sure everybody wants an update on number 8 anyway.
So under new business, we're at item number 6, it's 53-55 Washington Avenue, site plan for expansion of commercial use with the installation of a walk-in freezer and a major waiver from the 50% maximum lot coverage. Transect zone is T3N, Ward 3, Hudson Valley Bakery, Stephen Sansi is the applicant. Hudson Homestead Group is the owner. How you doing, right?
Good.
Just for the record, state your names, please.
Jim Lamb.
And Stephen Sansi.
Okay. All right, so, yeah, tell us what you want to do here.
Basically, we're just looking for approval of a 10 by 12 walk-in freezer that has already been installed. There's a few kind of issues that came about with that. We were misinformed by both our vendor and the City of Kingston Building Department. And Stephen had a verbal conversation with them and said we didn't need any special permits or variations or variances, I should say.
Okay.
So we put the thing up, they put a stop work order on us, and then we discovered Pandora's box. So we really are just looking for the variance. The biggest issue I think here is the lot coverage, obviously.
We're looking at a picture.
Yeah, so this is the freezer we're trying to request permission for. But basically, I think the bottom line here, I know there's other factors which we can discuss, but the lot coverage was the lot coverage for decades. It was about 87% lot coverage already. We added this walk-in cooler freezer, which added 2.7%. So it's a very tiny amount of lot coverage added to an existing business that has been there for decades and decades, not our particular bakery, but as many people know, pizzerias, all kinds of stuff. So in order for us to procure some rather large clients, ShopRite being one of them for our bakery, we needed extra space, and that was the only place we could do it. And again, if we were informed correctly by the building department and our vendor, who had no idea, and we also are learning about all the new, codes and everything and zoning.
We used a really reputable vendor, 2001 Refrigeration, was not aware of anything other than electrical permit to install a freezer. And that's what we're aware of that, so.
Yeah, and again, this is a temporary structure. It's not a foundation needed, real property, setup. This is a modular cooler that can be taken down, if needed and moved if we do, move our facility elsewhere. So that's really the main thing I see here is the lot coverage.
So the impetus for putting the cooler, erecting the structure was a client. You obtained a contract from a client for goods and services. And if that contract goes away, does this cooler go away or?
No, we have other customers that we're looking at, but we can only bake so much and store so much. And this more than 100% increases our storage capacity. So regular turnover of the product enables us to, get rid of some of those items quickly. But in order to take on somebody like a ShopRite or a Price Chopper or some others that we're looking at, we needed this space, and it would not fit inside the garage, which is what we were trying to do.
Well, there's a cooler in the garage now. Though,
yes.
Already.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, my next question is, do you think you're really outgrowing the site? Stephen, you and I had this conversation.
Yeah, not at all. We're not outgrown at all. We're actually,
We have a great amount of room to expand. We're hardly even using our basement where DeBellas did a lot of prep, and when we had Pie for the People, we did a lot of prep down there. We're not even using the basement. What we have in there is way too many small,
Chest freezers.
residential chest freezers that can now be, rid of and save on
Yeah,
electricity as well.
We're doing
for
a
this.
second, possible third shift. We would be outgrown, where we only have 2 employees, or we have 4 employees,
Two
one, a
bakers.
head baker, 2 bakers, and a salesman. So we're at the infant stage of this business.
And when was this put in? When did you have this thing?
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, about a month ago.
And no complaints about it at all from anybody?
None that were directed to us, personally.
Now, I own a house across the street on this side.
I honestly haven't even noticed it. I drive by it
Okay. And there's no
6
no-
dozen times.
Well, recently.
And this is literally, in this picture is the first time that I've seen it, and
Okay.
I drove by it today.
Well, we did paint the fence. We would entertain doing a natural hedge in front if that was
Or
something.
fence, add an actual 6-foot fence to kind of, block that in.
So when you talked about too, the fact, that this is kind of based as a neighborhood business, and really it's more of a commercial activity right now, and not in terms of how our zoning code defines neighborhood. It's not really fulfilling that slot. So we spoke about potential for opening up. You said that you were looking at maybe a small coffee kind of
Yes, the thought was
with
in the
some bakery
springtime,
goods.
be able to offer to the public, which we do online right now. We can go online and order, but yet, have our quiches and our tarts and bring in maybe some other local items.
Are you open to that? I guess what I'm getting at is I'm trying to tie this to.
And you've always, from day one, when we first talked about this prior, when we opened that was one of your items, and I would be open to, and Jim, we discussed coming in of taking where the barber shop used to be, and then Renato needed the dining room.
Right.
We could add a set of stairs that used to be at that point. That was the barber shop stairs. It still has like a little roof there, to make that where you could walk in, do a grab and go, and then use the patio out front where we had for the bakery. Especially they're trying to develop apartments across the street, and we have the school. I think it would be a good asset to the neighborhood. I would definitely go there to get my iced coffee every morning. Dominic would be mad at me, but I would jump ship.
We've discussed that since day one. The biggest thing is just, when we move to that space from the treacherous basement of Le Canard, which was a major improvement where this facility came from. We just wanted to find how the operations would flow. So now we know in that side room that he's speaking of, we could make it a small little cafe, enable more pickup business, which is what he's referring to with the online ordering. But also we distribute to a lot of local restaurants. I mean, we do Ship to Shore, also Savannah, Brinkman. So it's not, I understand what you're saying with community, but just because it's not a direct, I can go to your physical brick and mortar and buy it, doesn't mean we're not.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just saying the code,
The fifth in the
neighborhood
code,
business
yeah.
has to kind of provide for the immediate neighborhood. And so I think opening that shop kind of and having that aspect of the business functioning would fulfill that
Yeah.
need, and then.
It would fulfill
be a lot-
Salesforce as
It would be
well.
a lot easier for.
But it also, though, Jim can go into it, because this is more of his area, of what we had to go through the hoops of becoming agricultural certified in FDA, and it's a ECQ. We have to have food safety plans for every single product, and that took a long time, which we didn't realize when buying it from John Jock, of what he didn't have to when we were trying to become 100% official here. So that took a long time as well, and we could have landed ShopRite a year ago, but we didn't have all those in place. So we're kind of like at the final stage of then really opening this up to really heavily promote on social media and try to get the direct sales, and could fall into the
We've done the-
retail in the spring?
We've done the walkway, Mayfest. We were just up at the Bel Air Fall Fest. So we're getting the word out now to the community, and it was actually really cool at Bel Air. There were so many people in Kingston didn't even realize that they could order online from us. They were super excited, especially with the holidays coming up. So I
Damn, Nan Potter's, she ordered online.
So, yeah, so it's definitely like the kind of day two vision that we had. And we're hoping for the spring, but we don't want to lock into exactly when we can, have that retail space. But right now, the biggest need was
I
that
think
service.
I'd like to get like at least some kind of a commitment that, within 6 months, you'd have something started in terms of fulfilling that neighborhood aspect of it.
And we wouldn't, I spoke to Jim today, we wouldn't have to, we follow not through Corey, through the health department, the county, we fall through agricultural, so we're
Right.
already, our business is would be 50% wholesale, so we could open up essentially with planning board approval, we would have to go through Corey, the health department to get approval to open up a little grab and go spot.
Yeah.
So that's already in place.
That would bring it back into compliance with, what Sue was saying, just to.
But so I just want to get clear here. I thought we were talking about a variance of lot coverage, not business operations.
It's site plan, it's commercial site plan. It's site plan and then it's called a waiver under the new form-based code. Otherwise you would be going to the ZBA. So the waiver is because you've transferred permeable surface to an impermeable and you've got a higher percentage of lot coverage. But the use is also, you're technically expanding the commercial use, so it kicks a site plan into play.
Okay, so we do have, the retail sales and options now, like I said, so people do come in, actually neighbors come by and say, how can I, buy a
I
pie?
understand, but, right, but the definition of neighborhood business under the zoning code is, it's kind of gotta have a house there, and you've gotta be able to, like you said, a grab and go, or come in, pick up a coffee and get a Danish, or buy a pie, or buy a cake, whatever. But I want to see that component there in order to fulfill that need, fulfill that qualification as a neighborhood business, because the way it's acting right now, while a neighbor can order, absolutely, it's not truly a neighborhood business.
Okay, I honestly disagree because we have a lot of people who are, buying pies from us now, that are locals. And, just because we don't have a counter and cash register on the counter, doesn't mean that we're not, supporting the community with our products or selling, retail in that sense.
You are, I'm not saying you aren't.
Realistically, by the code, I have to be able to walk around the corner and come in and buy.
You'd be open to
something
the
and walk out.
public, you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
really.
It has to be a neighborhood improvement, neighborhood store, so literally I would have to walk around the corner, I'm 3 houses away.
Oh, what house, where you live?
I'm the corner of Elizabeth and Marius. So I'm where James and
Right
Miranda
back
are,
there, yeah.
and then Patrick is, I'm right by them, I'm across from Kyle. So Kyle's across the street from me.
Oh, Marius,
Yeah.
Marius, and
So I'm
which
the corner-
Elizabeth?
Yep, corner of
Oh, right
Elizabeth.
under, yeah.
Yeah.
But so like, like a service window or a pickup window, I mean, that would also, accommodate that, concern, right?
Someplace that people can walk up to and purchase something.
Okay.
Okay?
We can certainly do that.
All right. So what type of screening, do you want to handle that on staff level, or do you want to talk? about
Yeah, I mean,
You can talk about the
there's,
screening
yeah,
and staff.
an evergreen. I think a landscape screening would be appropriate. It would help mitigate noise, whatever is from the condensers.
It's a good time of year to buy landscape till it's cheaper.
Would you prefer the natural kind of border or like a typical wooden 6-foot fence? Is there something that?
Natural landscape.
Okay, so
Yeah,
privets
there's
or
definitely
some kind
room
of
for it
bush or
there.
shrubs?
So if
And you can work with them, not,
Yeah,
I'll determine that tonight.
Talk to
Thank you.
Verzons or Augustine's and see what they have available, that's not an issue.
Any other issues from staff?
No.
Okay. Okay. Under seeker, it's a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required for that. Any questions, further questions from the board?
Put some findings, verbalize some findings for the waiver. For the lot coverage.
Okay, like it will only increase by 2% than was there before?
Well, do you feel that is it an impact to the neighborhood, having the additional lot coverage?
I don't think so. And speaking to some of the
Is it
neighbors,
consistent with the T4 transect, or T3, we're in T3 here, right?
I agree that it meets that, and also some of the neighbors who don't even notice that it's there right now. That was one of my questions. So the neighbors, haven't had any complaints from the neighbors. And it looks nice too, so.
It's brand new, so. It's brand new.
Cost a few bucks, so it's not better one.
But certainly some type of privets or.
Yeah, no, I'll get maybe some arborvitae's to run across the back.
Right?
It's kind of like the variance, you need to justify the granting of the waiver with some kind of solid reasoning and finding. You can't just.
Well, what I just demonstrated, does it
Okay, so
speak
you
to that?
find it consistent with the neighborhood and minimal impact to the transaction is what I wrote.
That kind of sums up what I just said, I think, yeah. Everybody agree with that?
Agreed.
All right, so at this time, I will make a motion that we approve item number 6.
Seeker.
I did seeker,
You did seeker?
yeah. It's type 2, so we didn't have to do that. So we have board policies 4, 4A, 6, 10, 11. We can do Knox box now? Is that what that is? All right.
I don't think we have one there.
You don't.
Because there's 4 apartments, as well as the commercial space.
Yeah, well, you can have all the keys for all that stuff in the box. And so we can do also policies 19, 24, 25, and 26. Landscaping and screening for the neighbors will be handled at staff level. I can't beat that.
Establish the retail use with public access in a 6-month period and granting of the waiver with your findings.
Okay. That is a motion. Matt Gillis with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, everybody.
All right,
Appreciate
you guys.
Have a good night,
so
everybody.
much.
So we're gonna put you on hold for a second. We're gonna go to the last item. And then we'll-
Yeah, if you want to look, you can.
Free pies for everybody.
All right, we're gonna go to item number 8 under bond release, number 21 Bluestone Court, in parentheses, formerly 264 Lucas Avenue. Release of performance bond, Bluestone Commons, a 46-unit multifamily residential housing project. Section block and lot is 56.88-4-7, approved under old R4 zoning, now SD-MF Transact, Ward 1, SSLI Holdings LLC is the owner. Let the record show that Mr. Stephen Sands is here for that.
I'm here. I'd like to table this item until next month's meeting if possible.
Okay.
And the reason why, we currently have a cash bond and, we didn't realize that pulling the cash bond will restart from R4 zoning to the new zoning, and then would have us abandon the project that was approved for the R4 zoning. So I have a bonding company that will replace the cash bond with the permanent bonds, or do a zoning analysis and see if it would make sense for us to dump the old project and create a project in the new zoning.
So you need time to think about it.
Yes, please.
Good.
And I'm with Sue and Kyle on that.
All right, so at the request of the applicant, make a motion that we table item number 8. Do I have a second? Second by Sage Luker. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. See you next month.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great evening. Thank you. All right, old business. Item number 7 is 80 Washington Avenue. Site plan for renovation of an existing building with addition of a second story to establish a total of 37 apartments with major waivers to exceed the number of rooms in a multiplex. Section block and lot is 56.107-4-12. Determination transect zone T4 and Ward 3. Place 6 South Elliott. Place 96 South Elliott. LLC is the applicant owner.
Thank you.
Scott Dunn and Dan Potter are here. Welcome.
Good evening.
Okay.
But when we get to that.
All right.
Yep. All right. We had our site visit.
Yes,
It was,
we did.
it was good. Scott, I know we talked about it when we were at the site. We had a woman come up to us and express some concern about the lead paint on the outside. Do you want to speak to how that's going to be remediated and what the?
Certainly. Contractor that Charles Blakeman uses frequently, John Hallstein, is, let's say, certified not only to abate, but also to teach. And when I discussed it with him, he said that they would be using wet work techniques that would not be scraping, would use peel away. He's very familiar with all of the standards for protocols. And I did, with John's help, under an environmental report when it was the Hudson Valley senior residence. So we have that. We'll obviously be needing that and an update to it for the building department. Full building.
Do you want to give an update on where you're at in the process of the historic nominations with state and national?
Sure. Working with Heritage Consulting, who we've worked with many projects before, Lace Mills Lofts, just to name one. They have had preliminary conversations with New York State SHPO, who supports the nomination. We're advancing our Part 2 drawings in parallel. They're just about to hit the send button on getting that to New York State. So we're very confident that we'll obtain those approvals.
We had mentioned, I think it might have been in the last set of notes too, we'd like to actually look at getting this also on local listing. So that would be working through our office and the HLPC to ultimately get it to the council for acceptance. But I think it would follow suit. So that I'd like to see that happen as well. I want to talk a little bit about the mechanicals. for the board?
The existing cooling tower will be removed. Each individual unit will have what we call a one-to-one heat pump, so there'll be a small residential style compressor unit on the roof. Given that we have some nice parapets on the historic structure and in the addition, we believe from our sightline study that we can conceal or not have those units visible. And we understand that there is a new regulation that they can't be visible from the street. So we don't think we'll need to provide additional screening. We can cluster them on the proposed second story addition down the center line so that you won't see them on the angle. And then on the existing building, there's more than enough of a parapet there to shield them from view. So they'll be quieter. They'll be one-to-one so that tenants will have individual control over the units.
And SHPO is also reviewing the addition, so the external materials of that new addition we talked about on the site and you know, internally as well. The materials are not going to exactly match the existing structure, but they're going to be complementary. Do you know when you might have any kind of determination or recommendation back from SHPO as to what the exterior treatments are going to be, or what they're recommending?
I would say that it's likely that we'll have New York State's sign off within 60 days. And then we need to allow for another 45 plus before the National Park Service signs off.
Okay.
So we have a good idea of what is approvable, and that would be something similar to what we did at 270 Fair Street, which is a wood siding that's stained with a stained or painted, more likely stained to match the brick coloring, but not try to replicate the brickwork.
We talked about this project being multifamily and under the new form-based code, the requirement for the affordable and the workforce housing. I know that Charlie's committed to a little bit more than what he would be required. He had committed 15% affordable units and 5 to the workforce. So in the staff notes, we had asked what that breakdown would essentially be with 37. So it's 7 units, 5 would be affordable, and the 2 would be then the workforce housing units. And the difference is the percentage of the area median income, which is the income set by HUD, depending on the family size. 80% of that is affordable and 120 is considered workforce. So, those units would then be certified annually through our Housing Initiatives Office. I want to talk about site circulation. You know, there's a new point of access off of Wall Street, pedestrian only.
Unrestricted at this point, and it's a pervious paver, short path at the back corner, closest to the school. Other site amenities that Sue had asked about, and I followed up with an email for the record. The applicant would like to retain the existing shed, but we will paint it or stain it to match the coloring of this proposed second story addition. In our performance bond allocation, we set aside, I believe, $4,500 for some landscaping freshen up. Last night, I obtained a commitment from the applicant to eliminate one of the signs, install a new single monument sign that will comply with the regulations. I think we bookmarked $14,000 in the budget for that. The existing lighting, we submitted a lighting plan prepared by a professional
lighting designer that we've been working with lately, so it'll be all LED.
Yeah.
We will restripe the lot, and I owe staff an updated plan. You know, the markings are there, but they're faded at this point. And
We talked about clean out of the catch basins on site.
Yep.
They're relatively filled up with soil and other debris, and just possibly a couple might need reconstruction. Or some,
I forget how much we put in the budget for that. Was it $5,000? Somewhere there about.
yeah, I don't have anything that, but we'll show it when we get there. Oh, the primary entrance, let's talk about like movement on-site circulation, so.
Sure. So given that the parking is in the back and you have this circular turnaround here, this entrance here is the only fully accessible entrance. We're anticipating that 99% of the traffic goes through there. But for historics, we do have to maintain this ceremonial entrance as an entrance. You've probably been there too. A couple of times.
It'll be accessible for emergency purposes though, if necessary, so yeah, it's still gonna be usable. And the mailboxes are gonna be around the back.
Correct.
Where the primary entrance would be.
Yep. I have to locate the mailboxes on the site plan and get that updated for Sue and Kyla, but back here seems like the obvious place for it. That's all one way circulation?
For this project, again, just like the one we had earlier on the agenda, there is a waiver for the density, for the number of units, which would be allowed on site. Under the new form-based code, this transect would only allow for 12 units to be established within this project site. So if you recall at last month's meeting, Scott had gone through a density review where he looked at the project site, and you could ultimately tear down this structure and have 3 new multiplex buildings put on the site for a total of 36 units. That was one opportunity. He also looked at it from what it had been, the number of residents that had been in the facility, along with staff. I think it was 40 residents and like 6 to 12 staff, something along those lines. Looked at it from that perspective as well. Obviously, we don't want to see this building torn down. We also pointed, I think he also pointed to the fact that it's an adaptive reuse of the structure. And there is a ability to consider that, what the best adaptive reuse for a building might be, if it's got this kind of anomaly. It's not a typical structure within a T4N neighborhood. So those were 3 things that Scott demonstrated. The attorney for the project also submitted communication that was distributed. I don't know if the board has any questions, because you will need to make a finding on that waiver if you're going to grant. And those would be some of the reasoning behind the finding. And that, this is obviously, I think, still consistent with the neighborhood as well. So the impact is minimal.
And then the amount of usable open space ties into that as well, correct?
They were able to document, Scott did a review of the usable open space, which you need to provide 10% of the project site. Scott documented that there is that open space available here. The project was
6% or 39%?
It was a much higher, right? The project was, since we're talking about open space, it's very similar to the recreation fee. We did refer this to the Parks and Rec Commission, and they did return a recommendation that the full assessment be applied to this project. So with 37 units, that would mean 33 of them would be assessed the impact fee, the one-time fee, which would be 33 times 3,000 apiece, which would be $99,000 fee. So that is going to be part of a decision as well for you to make tonight. The project was referred to the county planning board. County did not return any comments. They said no county impact. So you'll recognize that in any decision you make this evening as well. The architect, Scott, submitted an updated lighting plan, which we talked a little bit about. We talked about signage. Refuse is going to be via a dumpster. Private hauler will be used. So you'll have the standard board policies associated with that. There is no on-site living superintendent. There is a superintendent that the owner has that, I guess, is around for multiple properties.
Correct, given all the properties that currently has. A property of this size will require a full-time, 40-hour-a-week person.
Right.
So they might float. They're not going to live on site.
Right.
And the kitchen has been.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
So
When we were at the site visit, the kitchen, there's a commercial kitchen in the basement, that's going to be removed. Because the question was, is that commercial kitchen going to be used to produce food or whatever for any of the other facilities that the owner owns? And the answer is no, that commercial kitchen is going to be removed. But in the basement, I'm glad you brought that up, because in the basement, this project does provide some amenities for the residents. There will be storage areas that will be kind of subdivided out, internal space subdivided out and made available to the tenants of the site. There's a gym that's going to be located down there. And available for the residents. And then there's a fairly large kind of community open space room where they can congregate. Again, that'll be, available for the residents to have social activities or do whatever.
And a very large laundry.
And laundry spaces down there as well. So there are some nice amenities going on here at the same time.
We committed to the bike rack outside, and there's bike storage inside as well, elevator access. The elevator, as Wayne knows, and anyone that came on the tour, it's a huge elevator.
Right. We talked a little bit about the e-bikes earlier with the other applicants. I think the fire chief was still the same position here, that, the e-bikes charging internal to the structure is something that he does not promote and would not want to see.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you are anticipating putting any kind of e-charging stations outside for bikes, or we talked about vehicles, and you didn't think vehicles would be an issue at this juncture for this population, but maybe the e-bikes would.
Charlie and I haven't had a chance to really discuss what ultimately that means. My sense is that it's not a big deal, since if you can plug it into your 110 receptacle in your apartment, you can plug it into an exterior weatherproof 110 receptacle. So, but I'll definitely follow up with you and memorialize something for the file.
We also have them at the other locations of other properties of Charlie's. So he's familiar with however they have to be charged.
Okay. Oh, he does have the e-bike chargers?
We have e-bikes available for guests of the Kinsley. So
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure how he does it, but we do have them available.
I didn't know that. That's nice, that's good.
It is good.
Okay.
I had a demo one, it was fun.
So speaking to the waiver that we're looking at, I think that Scott's illustration last month about, what could be put here if this place was torn down. The fact that it's an adaptive reuse of an existing building, he's looking for historic designation for this, both by the state and now we're asked for local. I think it fits within this transact with the spirit of the waiver.
I hope we're still streaming. Keep going, I'm
It says it's
sorry.
being recorded still, so, but I think that, what I just said speaks to that I'm comfortable with the waiver being granted for this. Still the same? Okay. Were we not streaming and then we are again?
Huh?
Were we streaming the whole time still?
Well, it just said
Okay.
battery low, so
Okay.
then it went black, so I'm assuming it's still recording.
Yeah, I think there's.
Oh, yeah, you're the host now, okay. So I'm out. I can go now.
I see that the county planning board, this was referred to them and they said no county impact?
Yes, yeah, and we do
That
have
doesn't happen very often.
a resolution.
It doesn't happen very often.
Here's the resolution.
Must be busy.
We introduced this project to the county months ago, so get their comments so that we could address them if they had any.
And where are we with the performance bond?
The performance bond, yes, Scott submitted, a cost estimate. Can you pull that up?
I think it was around 42,000, maybe 48,000 with the contingency.
Right, so,
Much to
John,
say here.
yeah, John has not had a chance to review it yet, so, what you'll see in the resolution, I want you to look at the bond and see if there's anything else you feel that needs to be added to it. But, to allow John to, set the amount, and we would add 10% standard contingency and in a form that's approvable, to staff and corporation council. So that is the bond right now, that's the estimate, that was revised, to, when Scott and I looked at it, we talked about adding the stormwater maintenance line, for the drainage structures and cleaning them out, and also, the mailbox unit was added in. And then we adjusted some of the other, I think, light limits, and that's what we've come up with. If you want to quick look, run through it, if there's anything else that you think, but I think we covered pretty much all of the site, and this is just site elements, not internal construction, to be clear. So, anybody see anything else?
No?
No? Okay, all right. So we'll run with that. Okay.
I should have brought a bottle of water with me, I think, for this. All right,
There is, I know we sent around a draft resolution.
this is the final one here?
There's been one minor change, in section 2, that Corporation Council made, and it's in paragraph B. So there's just
Yeah, just
It's
change
just
the
a
wording just so that it exactly mirrors the wording in the that were procedures that were created. So,
I sent that to them. This is the, it's minor.
Yeah, we need to do sleeping.
What you do?
Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody else have any questions?
Okay.
Subsection two B.
So we went back and forth with Mike Moyle and today, so it seems like a logical way to do it.
Before I go to seeker, does everybody have any other questions? All right, so I have before me a short environmental assessment form that staff has indicated is in order. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve it. Do I have a second? Second by Matt Gillis. Let's see here. Yeah, we're gonna go roll call here.
Yep.
So under roll call vote, Wayne Platt is a yes, Charles Palaco,
Yes.
Matt Gillis,
Yes.
Vince Archer,
Yes.
Sage Newkirk.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Adopted. Okay. All right, I have before me a resolution of the City of Kingston Planning Board issuing conditional approval of site plan and authorizing a major waiver for 80 Washington Avenue, Kingston, New York, 12401, section block and lot is 56.107-4-12. Whereas Place 96 South Elliott LLC, the applicant, submitted a major site plan application for renovation / adaptive reuse of existing building and construction of a partial second story in the rear to create 37 apartments with associated site improvements and tenant spaces. And whereas the building classified as a multiplex building type is located in the T4N transect zone with an allowed intensity of 12 units maximum per building. And whereas the application also included submission of request and supporting documentation for a major waiver from section 405-12, parens J, parens 3, multiplex allowed intensity for 37 residential units. And whereas the project includes site work requisite for an adaptive reuse and bringing the facility to code and providing associated amenities and as required. And whereas the project has been referred to the Ulster County Planning Board and also to the City Parks and Recreation Commission for required recommendations on actions associated with each agency. And whereas the board recognizes the applicants working with New York State Office of Historic Preservation and parens SHPO to secure a nomination to the state and federal registers of historic places. And whereas the applicant has agreed to incorporate 15% affordable housing, which is 5 units, and 5% workforce housing, which is 2 units. And whereas the application is considered an unlisted action under seeker, a short environmental assessment form was submitted and reviewed by the board and found to have no significant negative environmental impact. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Kingston Planning Board as follows. Section 1, the planning board deems the application to be complete and after full consideration of the material submitted for the project hereby approves the site plan 17 residential units. 37.
This is 17?
No, it was like a little cutoff there. 37 residential units and associated site improvements at 80 Washington Avenue with the following conditions. A, the applicant shall address the remediation of lead paint by engaging a certified contractor and following best practices as established by the industry for all work and disposal of the contaminated materials. B, the applicant shall provide a facility ADA compliant for accessibility in accordance with the requirements of the building code of the state of New York. C, the existing shed is to be painted and treated to match the existing building. D, the board accepts the usable open space plan as provided and defined by the applicant. And E, board policies. One is number 3, 3A, and 3B, submission of as-built plans and performance bond requirements. 2 is number 4 and 4A, lighting levels and adjustments as needed. 3 is number 6, board policy number 6, which is signature on plans. 4 is number 7 and 7A, active project review and conditions. 5 is number 8 and 8A, clerk of the works and project directory. 6 is number 12, emptying of dumpsters between regular business hours. 7 is number 13, changes to contact information. 8 is number 14, dig safely block on plans. 9 is number 15, analysis of zoning. 10 is board policy 17A, landlord registration and compliance with affordable housing requirements. 11 is number 18 and 18A, payment in lieu of parkland and signature of submission. 12 is number 19, compliance with the noise ordinance. 13 is board policy number 22, which is carbon monoxide detectors. 14 is number 23, protection of bluestone sidewalks. 15 is number 24, sidewalk standards. 16 is number 25, a Knox box. And 17, which is number 26, building permits requirement. Section 2, the applicant shall incorporate throughout the project affordable/workforce housing in accordance with section 405.19 of the FBC as follows. A is a total of 7 units will be established as income restricted. And number 1 under this one will be 15% of affordable housing units with households earning no more than 80% of the area median income as determined by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, specifically 5 units in parentheses, which are 3 studios and 2 one-bedrooms. Number 2 is 5% workforce housing units with households earning no more than 120% of area median income as determined by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, specifically 2 units in parentheses, 1 studio and 1 one-bedroom. B is the establishment of the affordable/workforce housing will be subject to a contract and restrictive covenants being executed and entered into as determined by the Corporation Council to meet the guidelines of the city. Section 3, planning board grants a major waiver request from section 405-12J, parentheses 3, which is multiplex allowed intensity for 37 residential units based on the following findings. A, the applicant has submitted a density analysis for the property which identified the property would allow for 3 multiplex structures to be erected, allowing for 36 units in a layout that would require the demolition of the historic structure and be less compatible with the immediate neighborhood. B, the code provides for the flexibility and consideration of the adaptive reuse of the existing buildings that do not conform with the general character of the neighborhood. C, the prior use of the facility housed 46 residents and 6 to 12 staff at maximum capacity. D, the existing proposal is not altering the overall site footprint of the impervious structures. And E, the project is consistent with the planning, design, and compatibility of the surrounding T4N transect. Section 4, the planning board concurs with and accepts the Ulster County Planning Board recommendation of no county impact. Section 5, that the applicant will continue to seek the status of designation for the state and national register listings of historic places and will initiate discussion with staff to obtain local designation also. Section 6, the applicant shall provide a final set of plans to staff that identify the following. A, location of the mail/parcel cluster unit as acceptable to the United States Postal Service. B, on-site directional and parking signage. C, details and location of the bicycle parking accommodations, including provision for electric bike charging. D, details of the dumpster enclosure. E, final finishing details will be submitted to the planning office based on approval by the New York State Office of Historic Preservation, SHPO. F, signed off by the city engineer on all site stormwater collection and confirmation that all existing components are to be repaired and fully functional. And G, include executed signature boxes for the owner. Section 7, the applicant shall provide a performance bond to the city of Kingston in the amount set by the city engineer with a 10% contingency added. Said bond will be in a form as approved by the planning staff and the corporation council and will be received prior to the issuance of the building permit. Section 8, planning board hereby assesses the payment in lieu of parkland fee on the project in the amount of $99,000 US, and said payment shall be remitted prior to the issuance of building permit. Section 9, approval of the board does not eliminate the need to obtain the appropriate permits from approvals from other boards, commissions, departments, and relevant agencies. Section 10, that this conditional site plan approval shall be valid for a period of 1 year from the date for the purpose of obtaining a building permit, and the applicant may apply to request an extension of 1 additional year as prescribed under the process in section 405-26E.1 in parentheses E. Section 11, that this resolution shall take effect immediately. At this time, I'll make a motion that we adopt this resolution. Have a second on that? Charles Palaco with a second. Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco? Yes. Matthew Gillis?
Yes.
Vince Archer?
Yes.
Sage Newkirk?
Yes.
Okay, it is adopted. Is this what you're doing? Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you, folks.
You're done.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Hey, nobody leave because you got signatures. Got it.
Is that the secret one? You got the secret
No,
one?
that's the secret of that to her.
Okay.
Huh? You're done. We need a motion to adjourn.
Charles Palaco with a motion to adjourn. Second by Matt Gillis, all in favor? Aye, opposed, carried.
You took some.